When you fire a guy like Chip Kelly or Shane Bowen, the D coordinator for the Giants, the reality is it's highly likely that those guys were going to lose their jobs one way or the other after the season anyway.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Power Rankings Tuesday in which I will let you know exactly where every team, including your team, stacks up in the NFL heading into a very fun Week 13 in the National Football League with the 3 games on Thanksgiving just 2 days away, as well as the Black Friday game. Then we get to the Sunday slate and Monday night. You better listen or watch youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL, the Even Money Betting Podcast. Coming off of a perfect week. We are coming off of a perfect week. I was 16 of 16. Steve was 8 of 8. We were 4 of 4 on our best bets. Just an epic weekend of betting in the NFL. For those of you that are so inclined, I know a lot of you are not, which is totally fine. But we got to get to last night's game first. Kind of a fun one, interesting one. Then we'll get to all of the power rankings. Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Ross, talking about last night's game, the 49ers, they threw more interceptions, but they still got the win over the Panthers, 20-9.
That's why it was kind of an interesting, strange game from a lot of different standpoints. I mean, Brock Purdy had 3 interceptions in the first half. 2 of them, I'm totally okay with who he was throwing the ball to, but he was late and or threw it behind them, which is a really bad combo. So those were bad interceptions. The one took away certain points, which would have given the Niners a 2-score lead, which makes it even more pronounced. I think the last one of the first half, the second J.C. Horn interception, that was just an incredible play by J.C. Horn. I think they were in some type of zone coverage, and nobody was in Horn's zone. So he just became like a robber player, which means you're allowed to just roam and undercut anything you want. That one, I thought Aikman did a nice job pointing out, that was just a tough one for him. There's no way to know that J.C. Horn is going to come out of his coverage and be there. The first 2, though, were just poor throws. I think Kyle Shanahan said in the halftime interview that it was the right decision. He threw it to the right guy. He just unfortunately missed the throw. The problem for the Carolina Panthers is they couldn't make him pay. They intercept Brock Purdy 3 times in the first half, a golden opportunity for Carolina to really do something, yet they couldn't. They could not make Brock Purdy and the Niners pay for those interceptions. And in fact, Bryce Young actually had the worst interception of the game because he could have walked into the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, there was no Niner out there as he booted out. He had a blocker in front of him. It would have been one of the easier touchdowns of Bryce Young's career. Instead, he tried to lob it to the back of the end zone, and Jair Brown picked him off. Now, Bryce Young got picked off later in another critical interception. That one, I thought Renardo Green held Teteroa McMillan, T-Mac, and that was a fine throw by Bryce Young. Now, Jair Brown was still right there, might have made a play on the ball, certainly would have made a play on T-Mac, but I think it's not Bryce Young's fault that McMillan got slowed up by a hold by Renardo Green that did not get called. Ultimately, that was really the most interesting aspect of the game. But the Niners won. Niners controlled the action primarily with Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. They sort of know who they are and what they are right now, and who and what they are is throwing the ball to McCaffrey and Kittle. I mean, McCaffrey just carries a epically large workload. And then the more they can get the ball to Kittle, the better. I thought both defenses did some really positive things, but especially the Niners defense, with all the guys they've lost and how bad they've basically been beaten down, for them to play that well, I thought spoke really, really well of Robert Saleh to have his defense hold a team to under double digits with all the Bosa's and Fred Warners and guys that they've lost. That was really, really well done by Saleh and that defense. They call them like the baby Niners. They're young and they're running around and they're making plays. More great stuff right after this. You know it's a pretty good gift when I've already purchased 2 of them. It's auraframes.com, and you want to use the promo code Ross at checkout to get $45 off. They give you unlimited free photos and video. So it's a frame, and then either the person you give the gift to can upload the photos and video they want, or you can preload it for them and personalize the gift. Basically, you can share videos or photos straight from your phone or their phone all year long. For a limited time, visit auraframes.com and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code ROSS at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code ROSS. This exclusive Black Friday Cyber Monday deal is their best of the year. So order now before it ends. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Smirnoff is the world's #1 vodka. Did you know that? And an official vodka partner of the NFL. It's no wonder it's an award-winning vodka. Here's what I love. It has a long history, starting in 1864. That's 5 years before the first college football game ever. They are all about the collective. Grab a bottle of Smirnoff at your local retailer and head to Smirnoff.com to find recipes of delicious cocktails that are perfect for game day. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff #21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please not share with anyone under legal drinking age.
It's time for the all-important Power Rankings. The worst team in the history of the NFL is...
All right, we're going to start our power rankings. 32nd, new team, Raiders.
Well, I saw them in person on Sunday, and that was bad. And I think the Raiders fans are the ones telling me that they should be ranked last in my power rankings. They also fired their offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, which I think I'm going to make my Labatt take of the week. It's brought to you by Labatt. With Labatt, you can buy beer and get gear. Go to their website, snap a photo of your receipt, and upload to gain points towards exclusive merch. Any size, any product, anywhere you're buying Labatt, sign up at rewards.labattusa.com. When you fire a guy like Chip Kelly or Shane Bowen, the D coordinator for the Giants, the reality is it's highly likely that those guys were going to lose their jobs one way or the other after the season anyway. Now, I think as coaches and competitors, they probably believe that they can always turn it around and get the units to play really well and save their jobs. But that was increasingly unlikely. It felt almost clear that neither one would be with that team next year. So on some level, those guys are just getting a paid vacation to now be home for the holidays. Home for Thanksgiving with their families for the first time in a long time. Home for Christmas with their families for the first time in a long time. So while you never like to lose your job, if you're going to lose it anyway, probably the earlier you lose it, the better, right?
Moving on to our next team is Tennessee Titans, 31.
Been a while since the Titans weren't last. The Titans and Jets were alternating there for a while. That was another, I would say, serviceable performance by the Titans. It's almost like if you're a Titans fan, you like the fact that your team is showing improvement. You're getting touchdowns from DK. Cam Ward's playing better, but on some level, you're not winning the game, so you're not hurting your draft status. It's almost like, and I know some fans look at it this way, some don't, but on some level, in terms of next year and the future, it's like the best of both worlds. We're getting better, but we're not ruining our number one pick status.
30th, New York Jets.
The Jets are just kind of outmanned at this point, but I do think, Aaron Glenn has the defense playing hard and playing pretty darn well, and Tyrod Taylor gave the offense a chance. The Jets are putting, I would say, respectable performances out there as well, especially when you've moved on from some of the guys they've moved on from this season.
29th, Cleveland Browns.
Browns got their third win. They were clearly the more dominant, better team against the Raiders, and no surprise, they've named Shedeur Sanders the starter for this week against the 49ers. Would have been pretty darn tough to go back to Dylan Gabriel after, Sanders led you to a double-digit victory. He played well, and, certainly you want to see more of what Shedeur Sanders has to offer after that performance. And to go back to Gabriel after he just missed a whole week of practice doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's time to see what Shedeur Sanders can do and give him some extended action and really see how he builds on last week's performance, which was, as I've said to anybody that's asked me, I thought overall very favorable. I mean, he didn't light the world on fire, but I think for a fifth-round pick making his first start middle of the season, thought he acquitted himself very well.
28th is the Washington Commanders.
Just been a very, very rough year, unfortunately, for the Commanders. They are coming off of a bye, so not much to say other than look out for my social media, Jack, at Ross Tucker NFL. They sent me a really cool care package, which I greatly appreciate. And I don't know if that ever happened under the old ownership, maybe when Bruce Allen was there, but thought that was pretty darn cool. Thank you, Commanders organization.
27th is the New Orleans Saints.
That was a disappointing performance against the Falcons. I think coming off the win in Carolina and the bye, there was some hope on the Bayou that the Saints would be able to pick up where they left off and maybe make a run here, in the second half of the season with Tyler Shuck at quarterback. Didn't really happen in this game. I thought Shuck played fine, and they gave themselves a chance with the way they were able to move the football. They just couldn't get done in the red zone and not quite enough defensively against Kirk Cousins and company.
26 is the Cincinnati Bengals.
So the good news for the Bengals is that it appears as if Joe Burrow is back, which is a great sign that Joe Burrow is back. The bad sign is that T. Higgins is in concussion protocol, so he won't be able to play Thursday night on Thanksgiving. And then neither will Trey Hendrickson. So Trey Hendrickson's still out. I'm starting to wonder if we'll see Trey Hendrickson at all the rest of this year. Remember, he's on that one-year deal. Probably very important to him with the way things have gone with the Bengals negotiations the last couple of years, that he is fully healthy for the free agency period. Some guys like to come back and show they're still healthy. Hendrickson probably doesn't want to take the chance of re-injuring anything.
25th is the Arizona Cardinals.
Just a disappointing lost year for the Cardinals. I do think Jacoby Brissett is giving them a chance in these games. He's throwing the ball to the right people for the most part, which is usually Trey McBride. He's throwing it accurately. They were better on defense. It was the sacks, though, that Brissett, you'd like to see him do a better job, I would say, of avoiding those sacks.
24th, Giants.
Already talked about their kind of big move from yesterday, which is firing defensive coordinator Shane Bowen. Listen, if you are Mike Kafka, the interim head coach, you don't really know if and when you'll ever get this opportunity again. So you're doing whatever you can to win these games. I mean, you're pulling out all the stops. He wasn't able to get it done against the Packers or against the Lions. They got so close. And in both of those, if the defense performed a little bit better, they might have won. So Kafka, whether he has a chance at the Giants job or not, Kafka's doing whatever he can to win as many games as possible for his resume for the rest of the year. And the Giants have given up way too many double-digit leads.
23rd is the Minnesota Vikings.
The Minnesota Vikings. Been a while since we've seen the Vikings this low in the power rankings. They have earned it. Interestingly, J.J. McCarthy is in the concussion protocol now. I guess he told the team that he was noticing some symptoms on the flight back from Green Bay, which, when it's, Dr. Chow will talk about this in Thursday's edition of the Even Money Betting Podcast. But when you start to have lingering symptoms or you feel the symptoms later, it feels like that is a lot of times when they're pretty certain to miss that next game, which will be the case, you would think, for McCarthy, which means Max, I forget if it's Brosmer or Brosmer, the UNH quarterback who is now undrafted rookie free agent with the Vikings after a year with the Golden Gophers, it appears as if he is in line to get his first start, which is really something.
22nd is the Atlanta Falcons.
Falcons, they're not giving up. It's been a disappointing year, but Kirk Cousins is going to go out there and give them a professional start, a professional quarterbacking expedition, and that's exactly what he did, and they got a win over the Saints, which, by the way, they're Falcons fans and Saints fans hate each other. That's like a big rival, so Falcons fans are happy after that one.
21st, Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Could the Miami Dolphins finish the year in the top 20, which would have been unthinkable earlier? It's kind of wild to think about. They're coming off a bye. Did the bye come at the wrong time, though? Because they were playing so well before this bye. I think they had won 3 out of their last 4. Hopefully it did not quell their momentum.
20th after last night, Carolina Panthers.
Have you ever used the word quell, Jack?
The only time I've ever heard that was as a kid, that book Hunger Games, or something called a quarter quell, which I don't know what that is. That's the only time I've ever heard the word quell.
You've never heard the word other than that?
I mean, not really.
So were you super impressed that I just used it?
So impressed.
You know what's weird? I am absolutely not one of those people that tries to throw in big words to show you how smart I am. I can't stand people like that. I can't stand people who write that way. The point of communication is to get your point across, not to try to show people how smart you are. But I don't know, quell is just what popped into my head there. So I went with it. I wasn't trying to be fancy boy. All right, so Panthers, bad loss. Bad loss. I mean, it's not terrible to lose on the road in San Francisco, but, it was kind of like their first primetime game. A lot of people were watching. Not a favorable evaluation of the Panthers or the Bryce Young, and puts them in a hole now for that last playoff spot. Now they're really chasing these other wild card teams. In fact, feels increasingly unlikely. They're going to have to win the division.
19th is the Dallas Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys? You know what? I have so much respect for Brian Schottenheimer as a head coach. For them to go through what they went through with Marshawn Nealand and come out on the other side and win back-to-back games like this says a lot about a lot. Not just Brian Schottenheimer, but it says a lot about the leadership on that team. To come back from down 21-0, super impressive.
Next up, Houston Texans at 18.
Somehow the Texans dropped a spot after after beating the Bills. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I guess I moved the Jaguars up ahead of them, and I didn't really drop anybody else below them. I thought about the Steelers. I would say Texans, Steelers, Bucks, Jags are all kind of in the same realm here. But the Texans certainly have been super impressive down the stretch here, giving themselves an awesome chance to be in the playoff race at 6-5. I don't know. I feel bad now. I feel like the Texans should be 2 spots ahead, and the Bucks and Steelers. I don't know why I did that. The Texans in my head are 16, actually, Jack.
Okay. Steelers, wherever your head's going to put them after rankings.
I will have the Steelers 17 in these rankings, but they should have dropped a spot. They should be below the Houston Texans. Steelers, they had their chances, plenty of chances against the Bears. They couldn't get it done. The Steelers are like, when the offense is doing some positive things, it feels like the defense lets them down sometimes. When the defense is playing like lights out, it feels like the offense, lets them down. They very rarely have been able to have both units playing well at the same time. Don't go anywhere. Got to pay some bills real quick. If you guys don't have the Game Time app on your phone at this point, what are we even doing? I've been telling you guys about Game Time for years because I love it, because my wife loves it, because we even have our friends that have it on their phone. The number one reason for me is just to be able to see all the events that are in your area. Or if you're going to a city like Vegas or wherever, to see what events are there. Plus, then when you actually want to get tickets to something, you have the lowest price guarantee. You know that you can see the view from the seat. Plus, the fees are actually included. No surprises. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ROSS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So again, create an account, redeem code ROSS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. I don't understand the science. Maybe it's because they're originally from Canada, but Labatt beer tastes even better in the winter. It is so good. And with Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, just go to the website, snap a photo of your receipt, upload it instantly to rack up points for exclusive merch. You can get points for every purchase at any store, bar, stadium, any size, any product. It doesn't matter. Anywhere you're buying Labatt. Buy Beer, Get Gear. Go to rewards.labattusa.com to sign up.
16 Buccaneers.
Well, the Bucs have just been beat up. They're on a bad stretch here. Now you got Baker Mayfield with his shoulder in a sling. You don't know whether or not Baker will be able to go this week with that non-throwing shoulder injury. He is tough as nails, so I certainly would not bet against him. But just been a disappointing year for the Bucs from a health standpoint.
15 Jacksonville Jaguars.
They moved up quite a bit this week because they just keep winning. They just keep winning and finding a way, and they're very much now in the mix in the AFC South.
Next up is the LA Chargers at 14.
San Diego Superchargers. San Diego Chargers. Go, Chargers, go. They had a bye, so not much to say about the Chargers. They're kind of still licking their wounds after that loss to the Jaguars where they got boat race down in Jacksonville.
13 Detroit Lions.
Something still doesn't seem quite right with the Detroit Lions right now. I mean, kudos to them for finding a way to get the win over the Giants, but it feels like they're not playing great on either side of the ball and that they're heavily, heavily reliant on Jahmyr Gibbs right now.
12 is San Francisco 49ers.
Man, I don't know. I don't think the Niners really have a chance to win the Super Bowl because of the injuries they've lost, they've had, and the players they've lost. But for them to be 8-4, I think speaks very, very well of Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh on some level.
11, Chicago Bears.
And you know what? I didn't realize this till you told me, Jack. The Bears are the westshorehome.com/Ross most improved team of the week. Presented by westshorehome.com/Ross. They are the experts in bathroom, window, door, and flooring projects. At least go to westshorehome.com/Ross and see my house, my before and after pictures, and get started. West Shore Home Remodeling Reimagined. I've given up on doubting the Bears. They find a way. They win. In fact, they win 6 straight one-score games, and that's all that matters. It's not style points. Sometimes Caleb Williams is up and down, but he's done a tremendous job of avoiding sacks and clear improvement from last year. And the defense finds a way to turn the other team over. The Bears are a good team. When you have this record at this point, you win this many one-score games, you're good.
Next up is the Green Bay Packers at 10.
Dun, 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 dun. Go, Pack, go. So that was one of their best performances in a while when they needed it. You know, it's hard to know at this point how much of that was bad Vikings and how much of that was good Green Bay. But Green Bay won to get back on track.
9, Baltimore Ravens.
I'm not quite sure what to do with the Ravens. They've won a zillion games in a row now at this point, and they deserve credit for that, 5 in a row. But they're not playing well offensively. Lamar Jackson's not playing well. Something is off there.
8, Buffalo Bills.
Bills dropped a spot after that loss to the Houston Texans. It wasn't a terrible loss, but they also are beat up now again with different guys getting injured, and it's feeling like that division has kind of slipped away for them. They gotta just make sure they make the playoffs at this point.
7, Kansas City Chiefs.
Only moved them up a couple spots, but that was a pretty impressive victory. I mean, I know they needed overtime to get it done, but they were clearly the better, more dominant team in that game. And by the way, I kept saying Latu had a pick 6. I forgot Mahomes tackled him at like the 2-yard line. Mahomes has like a zillion tackles in his career somehow, which doesn't really sound great for a guy that's that good of a player. But Mahomes and the Chiefs got it done when they absolutely had to.
6, Indianapolis Colts.
The Colts are a good team, but I don't feel as good about them now as I did earlier in the year. You know, they're taking on water now a little bit. I still think they'll win the division, but it feels like they've lost, 2 out of their last 3, and they just don't look as good to the eye test as they did earlier.
5th, Denver Broncos.
Broncos had a bye, so not much to say other than they watched some other teams around them lose from a seeding perspective. I think they probably would have rather had the Chiefs lose, but that Colts loss gives them a chance at the number 1, number 2 seed still.
4, Philadelphia Eagles.
Eagles, Eagles. Not only did the Eagles have a bad loss, but now they lose starting safety Andrew Makuba potentially for the season with a fractured ankle, which is a big loss. They're going to have to do a lot of shuffling now on the back end of that defense, which is never good.
3rd, New England Patriots.
They find a way to find a way. 9 straight wins for the number 1 seed in the AFC right now, the New England Patriots. Listen, I don't care who they're playing. You find a way to win this much, you're good.
2nd, Seattle Seahawks.
Seahawks have a really nice team. They showed it again. Maybe the defense wasn't as dominant as they had been down in Tennessee, but you never have to apologize, especially for a road win.
Ross's number 1 team, which is totally meaningless, but it's fun and will get many of you incredibly annoyed, is...
And number 1, LA Rams.
I've been saying for a long time now, 3 or 4 weeks, that the Rams are the best team in football, and that it's not by a small margin. I feel even stronger about that now. Rams are clearly the favorite to win the Super Bowl in my mind. Other than that, check out Even Money Podcast today. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. Reminder, it's the best holiday gift you could ever get a loved one. You're putting them on the cover of their very own newspaper story. But not only that, not only will you get tears of joy, I want to send you guys a signed autograph. I want to send you something in the mail, but I need your help. myfrontpagestory.com, backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.